You're watching The Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Good evening. Good afternoon. Good day. Hello. Welcome to another show. Welcome to your house of lunacy, madness, despair, destruction. Welcome to Fat Jack's Comicrypt. We were here tonight, as always, to do one thing and one thing only. It's not to talk. It is not to philosophize. It is to do nothing but feel and conceptualize the thing that we all love, the thing that we all show up once a week, once a month, the thing that we all desire to understand, to collect, to obtain, and to profit. We are obviously talking about comics, comic books. And if I've heard anything once, I've heard it 1,000 times. And that is a simple statement. We sell comics. Trademark. Welcome back. It's wonderful to see you all again. I hope you will spend the night here with me, the faceless, the nameless, the father of nothing. Because all we're going to do here is just sell comics. We'll talk about them. We'll dream. We'll hope. And we'll pray. But in the end, it's just about comics. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm just here to sell some comics. Now, tonight, we'll do some different things. I don't know if it'll work. It doesn't even really matter in a lot of ways. But we'll slowly roll out comics. I have no idea. I have some boxes over here. I'm just going to pull some books out. I'm going to lay them out here in front. Maybe we'll talk about them. Maybe we'll talk about nothing in particular. But after a brief period of time, whether they're claimed, whether they sell, I will remove them. I will throw them over here. And we will talk about other comics, different ones. But first, I want to say hello to the Word Man, hello to Fred, hello to a bunch of people that are showing up in the comment section. It is always a pleasure to see you all. Sometimes late at night when I can't sleep, and Brendan won't shut up, I think of you, and I wonder, where are all of you at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday night? Are you home? Are you with loved ones? Are you out in the streets with me? Are you crawling through the sewers, looking for novelty, looking for excitement, looking for anything? But especially, are you looking for comics? Back here, we have Mike, say hi, Mike. There you go. All right. I'm telling you, Mike, we should be creating a stable. You know, what do they call it in professional wrestling? A stable, a faction. You know. All right, real quick. I imagine most of you know how this works, but just in case, if you see any books up here, once they appear, you can claim them. Here in the Philly area, you can pick them up here in our Center City shop where we find ourselves right now. If you're over in Jersey, we'll send those books over there for you. If you're outside of the area and you need us to ship you books, please contact us. Our email is fjccshow@gmail.com. Regrettably, I don't know who's going to be looking at those emails as we slowly begin to prepare for something that I am not looking forward to. And that is obviously the loss or the exodus of Al, the one and only Aldonis. But I'll let Brendan cry about that and bemoan that. I have no horse in the race. In fact, I don't even know if I have feelings. I have no idea if what we do has any meaning, has any purpose, but it's irrelevant to the fact that I have comics. And if there's one thing I know about myself, about you, we do love comics. And so if we can agree on anything, it is I should probably start selling comics. So with that said, we are going to slowly just reveal what we have. First up, Captain EO. 3D comic. Bill Sienkiewicz cover. Based off of the George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola film starring Michael Jackson. An Epcot ride. I'm curious in the chat, has anyone actually been, when they were younger, to the Captain EO ride? Fred, thank you. It is a feel-good sales show. That's what we're here for, right? To feel good. I mean, what else would make you feel good than Captain EO? Thank you, Mr. Bishop. Yeah, it is one of the best rides ever. Like, Lucas and Coppola in the mid-'80s were, let's just say, in a very strange period of their lives. And were producing some very strange work. Michael Jackson wanted to be a superhero. And so they created the Captain EO character. And they created this little movie connected to a ride, 3D. It was very forward thinking, that's for sure. Maybe one day they'll have like an Avatar ride and it'll be equivalent to Captain EO. Anyway, this Captain EO book was usually given out to people during the ride. I'm trying to remember anyone like Mr. Bishop, if you recall, or anyone else recalls. Gary, maybe even you experienced the ride. I believe the original version they used to give out was it was in a different format than this. This was the direct market copy that was released in comic book stores through Eclipse Comics. Again, it does come with 2 pairs of 3D glasses. And then, in fact, it is a book. It is a rare book. And it actually has a bit of value. Now, our copy here is about a mid-grade. Brendan went with like a fine plus at $25. But high-grade copies of this version of the book can net some people upwards close to $100. Kyle, what are you talking about? What is this about? Billie Jean has plot holes?
Simply dancing on the floor in the round would not grant the premise of Billie Jean. Either that or they're really stretching their metaphors.
In the round? But isn't that a phrase for a dance floor?
Correct. But simply dancing at a club, which is all the song ever really says they do, would not lead to him being the father of her child.
Well, no, dancing is a metaphor for sex. They're actually banging on the floor.
Because Quincy Jones is kind of a prude, except in real life.
Also, let's be honest. No, I don't want to go there. Let's not get too dark, because there's another person involved in the creation of that song who has some interesting sexual hangups.
Right. No, I always go to the Quincy Jones line because I have a Quincy Jones tattoo.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I have a tattoo on my left forearm that is a Quincy Jones quote.
And what is the quote?
You only live 26,000 days, wear them all out.
That's pretty cool. I can get down with that.
Yeah, it's a joke he said when he was old, not when he had to work with Michael Jackson.
Fred, I'm pretty sure you're more likely to be the father of Billie Jean, the kid, than Michael Jackson is.
Word, man, not that big of a plot reveal. I actually know Quincy Jones just a little bit. We worked together on a record for a woman named Nikki Yanofsky.
How long ago was this?
2000 and we'll call it 11 or 12. I don't remember exactly.
All right, so not that long.
Yeah, I was in college.
Is Quincy Jones dead?
Huh? No.
Isn't Quincy Jones dead?
Nope.
No?
He's retired. He lives off that My Daughter's Rashida Jones fame at this point.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right, real quick. Next up, we have 8 Billion Genies, number 1. This is the regular cover A. And then we have the variant. Yes, it is Billion Genies, number 1. This is also the one that I'm holding up right now, Billion Genies, number 1. This is one of the variants. No, it is not one of the variants that most people are looking for. Most people are looking for the ones with the really cool cat. Hello, Dave. How you doing there? We have another guest who has just arrived. Mr. Lamazov is here with us. So if you want to take off, man, it's cool. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out, dude. Yeah, no problem. No. So let's just check. So Mr. Burroughs. Yes, that is 8 Billion Genies, number 1. 8 Billion Genies, number 1. The regular cover is a high grade at $25, and the variant is a high grade at $20. But again, they are both 8 Billion Genies, number 1. So yes, Mr. Burroughs, you probably already heard me, but I'll repeat. The variant of 8 Billion Genies of number 1 is $20. And again, it is a high-grade copy. Actually, it's a really beautiful cover. I don't recall ever actually having saw that one when it was originally released. But again, if you are interested, let me know, because in a moment or two, again, Fred, doesn't matter if you were 12 years old. I'm pretty sure you have a better chance of being the father than Michael Jackson was. Just saying. All right, so let me know. Right now, like I said, we have 2 copies of 8 Billion Genies, number 1, cover A, and the variant, 25, 20. And then we do have the aforementioned Michael Jackson Vanity Project, with the help of George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, Captain EO, with all of his sweet ILM puppet monster friends, hanging out with him, doing moonwalks and shooting lasers out of fingers, and a lot of hoo-hoos and hee-hees and all that good fun. Again, Captain EO number 1, fine plus $25. Oh, experience. Yes, Brendan will not let me forget. We need to do a playlist. So it looks like we're starting out with a real banger. Just a song that I imagine most people remember with a level of fondness, the equivalent of getting a root canal. And so we are looking at the Free Willy song, which was called what again? Will You Be There? That's crazy. Will You Be There? MJ. Boom. Mike, before you leave, if you have a song suggestion, I would love to hear it. If not, don't worry. I'll probably make up a bunch of songs later in the evening. Gary, word man, don't worry, brother. I got you. 1 second. Hello, Mr. Bird. How you doing there, Kenneth? Always a pleasure to see you, buddy. Come, hang out with us. I promise you, this will not be depressing. All right, so let's say goodbye right now to our 2 copies of 8 Billion Genies. And our Captain EO. Boom. If anyone is interested, let me know. They'll be over to the side there. But Gary, don't worry, brother, because I got you. It is the new Doctor Strange Forever Sunrise by Tradd Moore. It is, for lack of a better term, psychedelic. So it is a 4-issue miniseries. In fact, I'm hearing rumors. Mike was the first one to inform me of this. It looks like coming sometime next year, there's a strong possibility we will get another Doctor Strange series written by none other than Jonathan Hickman. Mike feels very strongly that this is absolutely happening. Ugh. And I really hope it is. Don't worry, Gary. I'll get you another copy. That'll be my copy. Anyway, this is the very new Doctor Strange Forever Sunrise book by Tradd Moore. Beautiful, beautiful book. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate that. I'll pick that up in a second. All right, Gary. There you go, buddy. Oh, Dave, you didn't have to do that. Thank you. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. All right, so Dave was hooking us up, picking up a book that I dropped. Mike, if you're watching, I apologize. All right, Gary, we got, what is this? The Sounds of the Night. All right. The Sounds of the Night by Joe Williams. Thank you very much. If anyone is interested, the volume 21 of the Latchkey Manifesto is available now on the Roland Vale Spotify. All right, next up, we got some Miracle Mans. This was spoken about last week. Brendan did not have the opportunity to get to it, but I will rectify that now. Like you said, we do have, except for issue 15, we do have a complete run of the Alan Moore original Miracle Mans published by Eclipse Comics in 1987 to, I believe Alan Moore left the book in 88, 89, followed up by Neil Gaiman. For anyone who's been paying attention to books that have been coming out recently, this week we got issue 2 of the Miracle Man Silver Age series, which was the last Miracle Man book that was ever published over 30 years ago. And for any of you who maybe read it for the very first time, there was a great cliffhanger at the end of that issue that, if you have read it, imagine how people felt in 1990 when you got to the end of that issue and you were like, whoa, what's going to happen? And then the book disappeared for over 30 years. So here's hoping that Gaiman really pulls it off, because there's a lot of potential in that series. And again, we all hope that. So, Mike, is Code Orange the band? Yes. All right. Cool. Code Orange, Swallowing the Rabbit Hole. Cool. Nice thrashy for you. Oh, cool, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right. So, Miracle Man number 1. It is a very fine at $50. This is a very sought after book. But again, some of the mid issues, like issue number 2 here and issue number 3, these are a little bit more affordable. Very fine, $5, and I believe it's the same thing for this one. Yeah, very fine, $5. All right. So, Gary, you were having difficulty finding the regular cover for the Doctor Strange Forever Sunrise. I guess it was like the Daniel Warren Johnson was one of the covers. What were some of the others? Mike, do you recall any of the other artists who did variant covers for the Doctor Strange? Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. I'm just checking in with the chat. Don't mind me as I glance over. Again, there's Miracle Man number 1, number 2, and number 3. Let's burn through the rest of our Miracle Mans here. Number 4, very fine, $5. Number 5, very fine, $5. And number 6, you guessed it, very fine, $5. This is at the point where we are beginning to find out more and more about the true origin of Miracle Man as he becomes to become more enlightened of his own existence and the purpose and meaning that he is looking for. So there was a Peach Momoko? She did a cover? Okay. We're looking up some of these variant artists. Oh, David Mack did one. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't see that one. All right. Yeah. He's in the library. Yeah. That was one I saw. All right, so there we go. Miracle Man 4, 5, and 6. If anyone's interested, let me know in the chat. Next up, we got Miracle Man number 7. Very fine, $5. Number 8. Very fine, $5. And then number 9, one of the more infamous issues of this run. This is a very fine plus at $10. And you might ask yourself, why is it infamous? Why is it famous? Why is it a little bit more than some of the others? It is because it is the issue where you see a very anatomically correct representational illustrations of birth, as Miracle Man's baby Winter is she is given birth, and it is graphic to say the least. So for anyone who's ever heard of the very famous Miracle Man birth issue, they are obviously talking about Miracle Man number 9. They even call it birth. All right, that is a very fine plus at $10. The other two obviously are very fines, $5. All right. I imagine you know where this is going. So let's get to it. Yep, that's right. More Miracle Man. I'm actually starting to get hot. This might have been a bad idea. All right. Next up is now this is issue number 10. This is right before we get into the last few issues of the Alan Moore run, where they begin to become a little bit more valuable because they're a little harder to find, and they become part of the famous final Alan Moore storyline, where Kid Miracle Man comes back. Johnny Bates, let's just say something terrible happens to him in the juvenile detention center, the home for wayward boys school or orphanage or whatever you want to call it he's living. Let's just say that children can be very cruel, especially young boys who are entering puberty, who are only around other young boys, and decide to, let's use the word, abuse weaker boys. Little do these little monsters realize, but little Johnny Bates had a secret monster inside, and all he had to do to make this pain and this abuse go away was just whisper one little word. And let's just say London would never be the same. But next up, with the introduction of John Tautleben, who was obviously one of, with Stephen Bissett, the major artists of the Alan Moore Swamp Thing series. This is issue number 11. A very fine at $12. Followed by issue number 12, and the introduction of, I'm flaking on her name, but it's pretty much like the female Miracle Man, who would later become Miracle Man's lover. And again, if anyone has recently read the Miracle Man Silver Age number 2, there is more going on with this character than maybe many of us were aware of prior. This issue is a very fine at $12. And then we got 3 more. Okay. So, Fred, when you say the most graphic, are we talking about issue number 15? An issue that has been brought up a couple times before on the show. I'm assuming, Fred, that that's what you're talking about. And let me tell you, you are right. Brat Pack was rough. That was quite a graphic. The other one that Rick Veitch did that was pretty wild. Does anyone else... I'm not a big fan of this game, but like the Do You Remember game. But does anyone have any fond memories of Maxi Mortal? The other Rick Veitch talking about superheroes and the fascist nature of them. Oh, number 9. Yes, the birth issue. What was that, Dave? That was 12 issues. The Maxi Mortal? Yep. That was 12 issues. Yeah. Admiral? Avril is the character, the female Miracle Man. All right, Avril. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jason. Maybe you should have shown up. Maybe being hungover isn't an excuse. You know, Brendan doesn't use the excuse of being hungover. He finds himself here, shilling comics and trying to keep people interested. Why some people sit in the background, secretly planning his demise, secretly passing on the whispered end and destruction of everything that Fat Jack's Comicrypt has built. You know, we have enemies besieging us in every corner. Doom, doom, doom. All right. Yeah, but Fred, man, like that. I wonder how much that original piece of artwork is for Miracle Man number 9, because for anyone who's never read Miracle Man number 9, the baby crowns and the way that it is illustrated, it is, I believe it's 5 horizontal patterns, and it's a strong close-up of, female genitalia. With a crowning baby head, and Miracle Man, and I give the artist a lot of credit. I think it was Rick Veitch. Yep. It was Rick Veitch. He's very good at showing the way that Miracle Man kind of uses his hands and his fingers in a way that is very representational to slowly move and allow the baby to be born. And it is highly detailed, that's for sure. Gary, thank you very much. Our first Run DMC song on the Latchkey Manifesto playlist. Talking about Brat Pack?
No, was Maxie the one with the kid partners where they did the expose for kid partners?
No, that was Brat Pack. Yeah. The Rick Veitch story about like that great cover where it looks like a Robin-esque character and he's shaving his legs. Yeah, again, that was Brat Pack. That book is wild. Rick Veitch was very fascinating. The infamous story where Veitch he took over after Alan Moore on Swamp Thing, and his Swamp Thing was really good. And he was doing that storyline where kind of like when Alan Moore was doing, Swamp Thing's consciousness was projected out into space, and he was slowly, popping up on different planets as he keeps like kind of giving birth to himself, trying to make it back to Earth. Well, Veitch kind of took that kind of idea, that consciousness kind of idea, and he threw Swamp Thing, or he wanted to throw Swamp Thing through time displacement. But the climax of that story, what he was inevitably building towards, which DC really got quite upset about, especially considering we were talking about Reagan-era America in the 80s. And that was that Swamp Thing was going to be reborn at the feet of Christ, hanging from the cross. And the whole issue was going to be Swamp Thing talking to Jesus Christ on the cross. And boy, DC editorial was like, that is not happening. And Veitch went, all right, it was a pleasure working with you, jackholes. And he quit, took off, and started making some very, very, very strange books, which are some of the best, thought-provoking series to come out of the late 80s. Again, like we've been talking about, the Brat Pack, Max Immortal. He did a bunch of, Rick Veitch did a bunch of interesting kind of dream theory, Rare Bit Fiends. What was a couple of the other titles? I can't remember. But anyway, let's move on from these Miracle Mans, and let's finish off our little Miracle Man run here. Let me just make sure we're not up against a break. Nope, we got about 15 minutes. So last but not least is issue 13. Is a very fine at $12. And issue number 14, very fine, $12. Now, again, these are pretty rare final issues. Now, issue 15 is obviously the one that we have talked about. That's the one that will usually net you or cost you high grade around like $100-$120. But issue number 16, the very last Alan Moore issue with John Totleben before he passed the baton to Neil Gaiman. And there we are, issue number 16. Now, that is a very fine at $16 and one of the lower print run Miracle Man issues. So that is all of our Miracle Mans. So if anyone's interested, let me know. If not, it is time to move on to something else. All right. If anyone has any questions, they want to know anything, let me know. I'll try to do my best. All right, there we go. Miracle Man. Boom. 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 All right, next up is a little title. It's been brought up before on the show a couple times, but didn't get rolled out. Now, if there are any children watching, you might want to close your eyes because we are talking about a very adult book. There is, most of the exploitative sexuality is covered up by little half covers. You'll know what I'm talking about when I start to roll them out. But a couple of the covers are very graphic in their violence. Now, again, the violence is so over the top to be borderline cartoonish. But again, we are talking about the late 80s, 90s, Dan Quinn, Tim Vigil, Faust. All right. So that's Act 2. They weren't called issues. They were called acts. Now, again, this is what I'm referencing. Here's some, it's pretty violent cover. But the next one is really, like, that's a vicious cover. But again, I mean, it's borderline cartoonish. But there's a little warning label: caution, contains extreme violence and sexual situations. They're not kidding. For anyone who's not familiar with the Faust book, it kind of starts out. I mean, technically speaking, Faust is a superhero. Like, Dave, did you ever read the Faust books, or was that just a little kind of out of here? If I wasn't a teenager, or like when I say a teenager, I mean like 11, 12, 13 years old, when this series was coming out, I might not have had any interest in it. But again, when I would go to the Fat Jack's comic book shop in the late 80s, early 90s over there in Jersey, this would be like in the back where all like the adult books would be, the pornography, things of that nature. But Tim Vigil's art was so hyper detailed. I mean, there was really nothing like it on the shelves at the time. And again, when you're like a middle school boy, even violent, crazy, weird, taboo, transgressive kind of sexuality is still like sort of draws you in. Again, because you're supposedly not allowed to read it. You're not allowed to look at it. You're not allowed to own it. So the fact that I was able to get my hands on it, not at Fat Jack's, they were always a respectable institution who wouldn't sell Faust comics to a child like myself. But I found some, let's say, unreputable sellers in the South Jersey area where I was able to nab some Faust books. And let me tell you, I was shocked by the amount of male genitalia that was sliced, gutted, cut, torn off, bitten off, ripped off. The amount of demons doing terrible, terrible things to genitalia was a little more than I expected. And once I started to actually look through the book, the sexuality was not as titillating as I initially hoped. Because again, it was pretty vile. Anyway, it is a very interesting and sought after series because of its low print run. It's very infamous, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm going to throw this out to the I'm sorry, Jason. You're not here, so I can't really lean into this. But your joke is Miracle Man's villain ordinary person? I just want to be clear that that's the joke, right?
Jason's just angry they weren't newsstand editions.
Yeah, he probably is. But I just want to let that one simmer for a moment. Miracle Man's main villain is ordinary person. Actually, it's funnier that it's person. You're such a goober. All right, real quick. Faust number 2, very fine, $8. Faust number 3, high grade at $10. And the very brutal cover of Faust number 4, that is a high grade at $6. If anyone's interested, let me know. There we go. Man, we're selling so many books right now. I'm pretty sure there's some people watching who can't wait to cancel us. They're just like, wow, look, proof of concept. You know, they couldn't sell a book if their house was on fire. Let's try to sell some more Faust. This was actually the very first Faust book that I was able to get my hands on. This is Faust number 5. This is a high grade at $6. All right. Again, this is another look away if you don't like it. But the violence is, again, borderline cartoonish. This is issue number 6, or I'm sorry, act 6. High grade at $6. And issue number 7, act 7. Again, whenever you see these like weird half covers, these are actually like when you peel back this little portion here, the rest of the cover has a lot of nudity and blood and gore. That's for sure. All right, so all of these, like I said, high grade, $6, $6, and this is a very fine at $5. And the final one we have up here, I'll just kind of hold up, is probably the most superhero-like. This would be no different if you saw it on like a Ghost Rider comic book. This is a very fine at $5. So again, that is all of our Faust. Okay. Yeah, I'm really regretting this choice. My head is so hot. But I told myself, can I keep it going for 2.5 hours? Can I keep shtick going for this long? Ah, boy. How you been, Dave?
Not too bad.
Doing all right? It's good to hear. Regrettably, no one can hear you. This microphone kind of the only way I can be heard is by literally like practically swallowing the mic. All right. Next up, pre-crisis. As DC was planning their Crisis on Infinite Earths, they were about to cancel or discontinue all of their titles at the time. And one, or actually two of them, became very famous, and it was the last 2 pre-crisis Superman stories. One of which, or both of them, written by Alan Moore. One of them, I believe, was the final issue of Action Comics. I think was. This is the most famous of the 2. The Superman Annual, number 11. This is the very famous story, Whatever Happened. No. This is...
That's the Black Mercy.
Yeah, where it's like, what do you give? What do you give the man who has everything? There you go. Absolutely, that Warren Ellis adapted and stuff like that. Yes, this story was actually adapted for an episode of the Justice League cartoon. This was also illustrated by Dave Gibbons, who would obviously later go on and create Watchmen with Alan Moore. Also, for the Jasons in the world, it is a newsstand edition. This copy is a fine plus at $20. What is that strange noise? Is that me?
The computer.
It's the computer?
Oh, that was me.
Okay.
That was probably me. I had my microphone on.
Oh, because usually it pops up on the top screen. It says like Kyle's coming in
Right,
to
but I never
like.
took myself out after the last time I made fun of Jason.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's my fault.
Good stuff. Next up, having nothing to do with Superman, is a little excellent movie adaptation, written and illustrated by Evan Dorkin. Evan Dorkin, who was famous for Dork, Milk and Cheese, but who would later go on and write a lot of children's cartoons in the 90s and 2000s. But he was given the great cush job of doing an adaptation of the sequel, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, where they play with death and all that good fun. This is a very fine plus. It's $6. And then we have from Harlan Ellison and Neil Adams, the direct market square bound edition of the Twilight Zone comic book that Ellison and Neil Adams did together. This is the prestige format version of this issue. This is a high grade at $6. So there you go, high grade, $6. Very fine plus, $20, and a, what did I say this was? A very fine plus at $6. So again, we have 3 books with nothing in common, except that they're comic books. All right. This is a moment. Oh, well, speaking of which, let's go to break.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Did you know that every Experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
What's up? It's the word man, Gary Lime. That's Dave Proch. And you're checking out Fat Jack's Comicrypt on The Experience. Now.
Hey, what's up? Hello, we're back. I'm looking at something that Dave just showed me. Oops. All right, what do we have here? What the hell?
Those are from Japan. Those are from the 60s and 70s.
Interesting. Little tiger man. Some weird little children.
Yeah, these are books, records, little things that were given with these as exercise promotionals.
And they would end up in like books and like records and stuff like that. That's really kind of cool. Oh wait, isn't this somebody? Like it almost looks like Common Zero. You probably can't see it on there. Oh man, we'll have to figure out a way to get these in the hands of people who will appreciate them. Which, don't worry, is probably nobody right now because I think you're the only person watching. All right, so let's move on to Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Batman Year One. Here we have Part 1. This is a very fine plus at $30. Part 2, and a beautiful, beautiful cover by Mazzucchelli, one of the great, great comic book artists, and somebody I wish was a little bit more prolific. But again, his illustration style tended a lot towards fine art. So I imagine he was slumming a lot when he was doing comic books. This Part 2, Batman 405, that is a very fine plus at $20. And Part 3, a very fine at $15. And if you are interested in having the entire set, or you were concerned or worried that I didn't have part 4, don't worry, I got part 4. Another just look at the design of this composition, of this cover. I mean, Masuccelli was a true artist, that's for sure. I mean, I understand he doesn't hold a candle to Sir Robert Tiberius Liefeld, but, nobody else can. This part 4 is a very fine at $15. Oh, all right, JD, going the distance. Good stuff. Thank you for stopping in, JD. It's always good to see you, buddy. I hope everyone's holiday was pleasurable. All right, good fun. All right, let's just move on. This is what I'm going to do tonight. I'm just going to keep throwing books up here, and then I'm going to move on. I mean, I got to be honest. I have no idea what works. I have no idea. I mean, everyone's got opinions, and some things work and some things don't. I mean, I don't know how long I can do this for, because whatever I do doesn't seem to work that well. If you listen to the whispers behind the scenes, but let's try to sell some more comics. Don't worry, Gary. This isn't a 20-minute break, that's for sure. But for anyone who's interested, we do have Grant Morrison and Duncan Fegretto's 3-issue miniseries from 1992, Kid Eternity, which is actually really cool. Look at that. You know what's funny? I actually forgot that they were connecting. They were connecting covers. That's pretty cool. Oh, that's awesome. Dude, Duncan Fegretto. There's an artist that doesn't get talked about enough. Yeah. These are all high grades at $6. Yep. All high grades. $6. For anyone who's not aware of what the Kid Eternity concept was, Kid Eternity, like most of the early Vertigo books, was a DC character that nobody did anything with, like Animal Man, Doom Patrol, Sandman, even Black Orchid actually had existed prior. Do you remember Kid Eternity? I think you think he was a Golden Age character? Okay, all right. What kind of books, what kind of DC titles would he have popped up in? Kind of more fun or adventure, probably been. Yeah, so for anyone who who's aware of the Kid Eternity concept, now are you familiar with his original, like, kind of characterization?
I don't know his origin, but the idea was he could call up any character. Lincoln.
Yeah, so they weren't like recreating the wheel. It's the same thing with the Vertigo stuff. Yeah, so for anyone who's not familiar with Kid Eternity's powers, he had the ability to pretty much, as Dave said, call up dead famous people. Pretty much I imagine he could call up even non-famous people, but usually it was famous people. So he would call up Abraham Lincoln to help him in an adventure, or he'd call up, Genghis Khan, or he'd call up Thomas Edison. I don't know why he didn't kick him in the butt. Mr. McClain, how you doing, buddy? It's a pleasure to see you. Dave, can you believe we are an hour into this show and we got our first claims? And Mr. John, this is a personal favorite, and I really hope you enjoy it. And thank you. I always appreciate your time and attention. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess technically Gary did claim 2 copies of Doctor Strange. Yeah, dude. Now, John, have you actually read that miniseries before? And again, that miniseries was sort of a prequel, or it was Grant Morrison reestablishing the character of Kid Eternity. And then Vertigo started an ongoing series. Zanen's Kid Eternity first appeared in Hit Comics, and the character had his own self-titled book. Okay, so Hit Comics. Do you remember Hit Comics? Does that sound familiar? as a DC title from that era?
It may not have been in DC because
Oh, you think it was in DC?
Plastic Man was in Police.
That's a great point. So maybe Kid Eternity might have even been one of those like characters that DC just sort of like, yeah, by running some other company out of business. Ugh, what a wonderful company. Yeah. So Kid Eternity got his own Vertigo series, written by Ann Nesenti and illustrated by Sean Phillips of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips fame. I was obviously a big fan of it, but it was a book that barely lasted. I think it maybe lasted like 12 or 13 issues. Because let me tell you, I don't think it sold well. It was a quality comic. Yes. Okay. So Zanin says you were right. It wasn't DC. It was quality comic. All right. So Mr. Reclaim, if you've never read it before, I really hope you enjoy it. Again, I'm not going to bore Gary with some Grant Morrison love, but it is a blast. All right, so real quick, we're getting claims through text. Someone once I posted an Instagram photo, and with it was just a couple like Twisted Tales I had up there, and someone just claimed them, but I can't remember which Twisted Tales they were. So
That's the person who's claimed which ones they want.
oh.
Right there.
Yep. All right, let's move on. What do we have? Let's finish off before we get into some pre-code reprints and some horror and sci-fi anthologies. Oh God, Pete. I wish you were watching the show, Pete. I know you're out there. I haven't even gotten to all the Twisted Tales, Alien Worlds, Alien Encounters, all that kind of stuff. And I just got a text being, anytime any of those Twisted Tales, Alien Worlds, Alien Encounters, Pacific Eclipse Johns come in, assume I want them. They were kind of what I was pretty much banking this whole show on tonight. Do I really assume he wants them all? All right. Let's, before... God, man. All right, real quick, let's just finish off with some beautiful Frank Miller, Bill Sienkiewicz. And when I say some beautiful Bill Sienkiewicz, I'm talking like peak 80s Bill Sienkiewicz art. This was the series where you began to see Bill Sienkiewicz really stretching his artistic experimentative skills, his multimedia, all that kind of stuff. I imagine most of you, especially if you are a certain generation, you're going to be very familiar with this series. I'm obviously talking about Frank Miller and Bill Sienkiewicz's Elektra Assassin. We have a complete 8-issue series. So let's just first show off these first 3 issues. There we go. Okay, I think someone has claimed all of those books without even watching the show. I mean, like, how do people do this, Dave? Like, what is the secret to this whole medium? I don't. Like, what do you focus on? Like, what is the point? Real quick, this issue number 1, that is a very fine plus at $8. And then I'm pretty sure issue 8 is also, so issue 1 and issue 8 are the ones that carry the most value. Issue 2 through 7, I'm pretty sure are all very fine pluses at $4 each. Let me just clarify that. Yep, that is all true. Again, some beautiful, don't you just love that awesome glare? Oh, man, bags and boards, nothing like it. Just love the glare. All right.
Some people want to collect, some people want to put them up on the wall, depending on the art style.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bill Sienkiewicz, for anyone who's out there that you're familiar with it, I have a copy And I haven't seen it in a long time, but back, I think it was in maybe the late 80s, where Classics Illustrated was trying to, they were trying a new approach, and they were putting out these sort of prestige format, square bound adaptations of classics, but done by artists of the 80s. And my favorite, which will probably not be a big surprise, I'm a huge fan of Moby Dick. And again, I can't remember the exact year, but I couldn't have picked a better combination of story and artist. But Bill Sienkiewicz did an entire adaptation, visual adaptation of Melville's Moby Dick for Classics Illustrated, and it is beautiful. So for anyone who's not aware that it exists out there, I'm putting you on notice right now. Be on the lookout for sometime in the 80s. Classics Illustrated did another adaptation of Moby Dick, but this time Bill Sienkiewicz. And I'm talking like Elektra Assassin, Stray Toasters era Bill Sienkiewicz, not even like Moon Knight era, where when Sienkiewicz was still doing his little Neil Adams kind of pastiche before he started to break out of that. And obviously Bill Sienkiewicz did a ton of licensed. I mean, do you remember like the first Transformers miniseries? Bill Sienkiewicz did the covers for that. Same thing with a bunch of other like toy line toys and stuff like that. And in fact, we already saw a recent Bill Sienkiewicz cover with the Captain EO comic book, where he did the cover for that. Anyway, Electro Assassin 1, 2, and 3, followed up by 4, 5, and 6. So here we go. Sienkiewicz just really stretching his composition muscles. There we go. There we go. And again, okay, I'm pretty sure they're all very fine pluses at $4, except for one of them, which is, yep. So it's issue number, you gotta be kidding me. It's okay, I'll grab it. Thanks. No, Dave, please. There you go. Be comfortable, bud. Thankfully, they do the thing, especially with the bag and board, where they're like cats, where they like fall like that and then they fall flat. Because nothing's worse than when the book like falls and then it like you get that like bang in the corner or whatever. But yeah, it was issue number 6, very fine at $3.50. But again, I'm not going to bore everybody. Everyone knows what I have. So again, it is in all 8 issues of Elektra Assassin. And then last but not least, issue number 7. That is also a very fine plus at $4. And issue number 8, a very fine at $6. There we go. And next up, speaking of the 80s, speaking of the early 90s, Clive Barker's Book of the Damned. All right, so back in the late 80s, early 90s, Epic Comics was publishing the Clive Barker Hellraiser comics. Then they started to publish the Nightbreed. And then, Marvel was in the Clive Barker business. And so they created the Razor line imprint, which were all Clive Barker sort of creations that they would then pass on to different creative teams. It was those comics that would be the big break for the Wachowski siblings, specifically Lana Wachowski, who at the time obviously was known in the industry as Larry Wachowski before she transitioned later in life. But she got her big break doing that, and that's how they met. The Wachowski siblings met Steve Scrosi, Jeff Darrow, all those writers and artists were sort of meeting each other in the Razor line imprint from Marvel Epic Comics. Well, at the time, like I said, Clive Barker was publishing a lot of his Hellraiser adaptations and things of that nature. And Hellraiser at the time was like a horror anthology book and stuff like that. Now, most of them, they have a little bit of value here and there, but the ones that actually have some real value, I was actually surprised when I was looking these up, are these Book of the Damned, a Hellraiser companion. I believe there were 2 or 3 issues of this series, and pretty much what they were is they were written by Lana Wachowski, and they were illustrated by a multitude of different artists. You have Clive Barker, you got John Bolton, trying to think of some other people like Ted McKeever, things of that nature. And what the Book of the Damned Hellraiser companions really were was they were expanding the Hellraiser mythos. So you got some stories about Leviathan, you got some stories about the Cenobites, you got diagrams of the box, you got little short stories of people who got their hands on the box and things that happened. So each one was written, and in fact, once you got past the opening cover, the first page and the last page of these companions would look like marble style kind of college rule notebooks. Like it pretty much looked like a crazy man's notebook, because obviously everything inside of that notebook was insane. And we are lucky enough to have the very first one of this Clive Barker's Book of the Damned, Hellraiser Companion, published in 1991 with a gorgeous Simon Bisley cover. Here we go. Let's take a look at that right there. Now, this is a high-grade copy at $15. Now, again, when it comes to a lot of these Hellraiser books, they don't carry that much value, but I get the impression that these are sought after primarily because, again, it's like a who's who. Like DC's Who's Who or Marvel's official handbook. It's, you find out like the power levels of Pinhead, or you find out the origin of the female Cenobite and what happened to her before she became a Cenobite. Or again, you get diagrams of oh man, The Thief of Always, Gary, man, that book was a trip. Dude, Clive Barker, I mean, again, like, some Stephen King and stuff like that, but Clive Barker especially, there was just something about his stories that just so uncomfortable. Oh, man, I love that dude. Anyway, again, Hellraiser Companion, Clive Barker's Book of the Damned, high grade, number 1, high grade, $15. And like I said, we have our Electras. Let's say goodbye to our Electras for a moment. And let's get into some pre-code reprints. Let me just make sure we're not going to miss. All right. All right. So first up, this is from Eternity Comics in the mid 80s. So in the mid 80s, you began to see a revitalization of pre-code horror and new horror and sci-fi anthologies that were trying to replicate the style and tone of the old EC comics. A writer and artist who I didn't realize how prolific he was as an artist in the 80s, as well as a writer. I kind of got to know him in the early 2000s or late 90s when he started doing the Hulk book that everyone was upset by because Hulk rarely ever showed up. It was, yeah. I'm obviously talking about the writer-artist Bruce Jones. Well, I guess in the 80s, he was, especially with Eternity Comics and Pacific Comics and Eclipse Comics and all that kind of stuff, he was trying to, by himself with all of his buddies, like John Bolton and Gray Morrow and Dave Stevens and all these kind of guys, they were trying to revitalize the horror and sci-fi anthologies that reminded them of their youth when they were growing up reading EC Comics before the Comics Code Authority came along and really screwed everything up. Well, Eternity Comics, they put out a little series called 50s Terror. They were all classic pre-code horror books. So let me just put up the first two. Now, these are all very fines at $3 each. So I'm putting up the first two. Okay. Real quick, let me get my notes and I'll tell you what actual pre-code horror books these stories come from. All right. '50s Terror. All right. So number one. So again, all the stories in these 50s Terrors, which is we got 2 issues up there. Then we got issue 3, 4, 5, and 6. That is the entire miniseries. So here we have. So number 1 has stories reprinted from Witch's Tale and Tomb of Terror. And number 2, we have stories reprinted from Strange Fantasy, Crime Mysteries, Weird Mysteries, and Witches' Tales. Again, those are all very fines at $3 each. Here's number 3 with a wonderful cover. That is how I feel most given nights, that's for sure. Number 3 contains reprints from Tomb of Terror, Eerie, and Chamber of Chills. Yo, Mr. Towers, what's up? Happy post-Thanksgiving, buddy. All right, so that's issue 1, 2, and 3 of the 50s Terror. And the last 3 issues of this miniseries. Issue 4. Issue 5. And issue 6. There we go. All right. Number 4 contains stories from Haunted Thrills, Web of Evil, Terrific. That's a strange title. And Strange Fantasy. Number 5, reprints from Chamber of Chills, Strange Fantasy, The Beyond, and Haunted Thrills. And number 6, Chamber of Chills and Witchcraft. Again, all these pre-code horror books are all very fine at $3, and they reprint, obviously, pre-code horror books. There we go. All right. Speaking of Bruce Jones. So back in the 80s, Marvel was doing Marvel graphic novels. All right. Now, that was a mixture of different kinds of things. You got some original pieces, which this book is. You got some superhero stuff. I mean, obviously, Marvel graphic novels is where we got the Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, Triumph and Torment by Roger Stern and Mike Mignola. The wonderful, wonderful story of Doctor Doom pretty much getting Doctor Strange's help to go to hell and try to rescue Doctor Doom's mother's soul. It's a brilliant story, probably one of the better original graphic novels that Marvel ever produced. Also, you got like the Emperor Doom story came in an original graphic novel. There was a lot of them. Now, once this kind of series sort of entered the 90s, the quality of a lot of these books began to lessen, for lack of a better term. Now, some would argue, and I'm one of those people, this is probably the last of the truly good original, where it's not connected to a superhero, it's not connected to an adaptation of a movie or something along those lines. It's just Marvel going, here, writer and artist, give us a good story, give us great art, and we'll publish it in this beautiful, high grade original graphic novel, magazine size, Baxter paper. I mean, these books were beautiful, which is why at the time, they cost you a little bit of money, which, like I think this would have been like maybe $6 or $8, which in like 1988, 1989, spending like $8 for a comic book was a big deal. I mean, now we live in a time where most comic books cost $5. I mean, hey, Marvel loves putting out $10 comics. But anyway, this is Arena by, again, the writer/artist that I was just talking about, Bruce Jones. He wrote and illustrated the entire original graphic novel. This was heavily inspired by Ray Bradbury, Stephen King, and the old EC comics. Pretty much the basic concept is a woman and her daughter, soon after a divorce, they decide to go out into the woods to get away. But what they don't realize is that this woods is actually a time warp, and they begin to have experiences with cannibal hillbillies, dinosaurs, cavemen, World War II pilots. The daughter and the mother get separated. I mean, again, I don't want to give away all the twists and turns, but they're pretty compelling. Again, this is like one of those like stories that actually would have been a great movie. I'm surprised someone hasn't done anything with it. Because again, when you hear inspired by Ray Bradbury, Stephen King, and EC Comics, I mean that quite literally. Again, a really wonderful series book, 1989. That's when it was published. Written, illustrated by Bruce Jones, and I got to tell you, I was surprised at how good an artist Bruce Jones actually was. Anyway, this is a high-grade copy at $10. Bunch of people talking about being hungover. All right, so we were talking about Neil Gaiman earlier, but we didn't have any Neil Gaiman books. Well, guess what? I'm going to rectify that now by showing off Violent Cases. I apologize for this wonderful, wonderful glare. All right, so right around the time where Neil Gaiman and Dave McKean were working on Black Orchid, were working on Sandman, all that kind of stuff, they were putting out original graphic novels through a couple other different companies. I'm pretty sure, now correct me if I'm wrong, there are 3 big original graphic novels that Dave McKean and Neil Gaiman did around this time. Signal to Noise, Mr. Punch, which came later, and Violent Cases. Violent Cases pretty much is a story of a young man talking to an older man who was trying to convince the kid that he was a doctor for Al Capone. And during the course of the story, 1960s Britain begins to become mixed together with 1930s Chicago. And it becomes a very weird, fantastical story. Now, for some of you who are always trying to pay attention to the speculation market, why are some books going up in value and others are not? This is a beautiful high-grade copy of the original American Tundra published, because I'm pretty sure the very first Violent Cases was released by Titan Books in England, and Tundra is the one that got the rights to be able to produce the American copy. Now, this is a book that is in people's radar right now, primarily because I believe a month or two ago, it was recently optioned to possibly become a movie. Whether it does or not, I don't know. But, if some people are like, why does Violent Cases sound so familiar? What am I thinking of? You probably heard that it was recently optioned for a film. Oh, man, the chat looks like so much fun. Next up is a very famous... All right, so I imagine most of you are aware of Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan. Well, right around the same time, he was writing Conan and things and Solomon Kane and Kull and other characters like that. He began to do a series of stories, which they're referred to as regional horror stories set in the Piney Woods. Now, the Piney Woods is not to be confused with the Jersey Pine Barrens with pineys and things of that nature. What it actually references is a regional area where Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas connect. And so there were a bunch of stories that Robert E. Howard, all horror stories, just so we're clear, where he would set these narratives. There were 5 stories altogether. The other 4 of them were referred to as Shadow of the Beast, Moon of Zimbabwe, and Black Cannon and Black Hound of Death. But the most famous one, the one that has probably been adapted more than the other 4, and this is no exception, illustrated by the brilliant painter Scott Hampton. This is Robert E. Howard's Pigeons from Hell. All right. This is a very fine plus at, thank you very much, Dave, at $12. All right. So the basic concept is, tell me if you've heard this story before. 2 New Englanders travel to the South and spend a night in a deserted plantation manor. Zombies, voodoo, and the horrors of the antebellum South during the Civil War begin to show their ghostly past. So yeah, it's exploitation. It's pretty wild. It was originally written in 1934, I believe. Most of these stories were published posthumously. I probably said that word wrong. Yeah, Arklatex. That is actually what it's called, Arklatex. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, but when I was doing research on it, everyone kept referring to it as Arklatex. And I was like, what the hell are we... Arklatex? Yeah. Arklatex is the little area where Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas touch. yeah, Arklatex. Just like the Panhandle and Texarkana and all those kinds of area. Yes, Jason, you are correct. Ben Kingsley's, the actor Ben Kingsley, his production company is connected to the Violent Cases adaptation. Anyway, so these are 3 original graphic novels that we have up here right now, but we missed a break by about 7 minutes. So when we come back, we'll have some more books. But if anyone is interested in these, let me know. I'm going to put them off to the side, and I'll see you on the other side of the break.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you. Comic Collectibles is a pretty straightforward show. You got Rex here, he sells the comics, and you got Rockin' Robbie, he knows about the comics. And finally, John, well, no one really knows what John does. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a great guy, but he just keeps showing up. Come to think of it, I don't even really know how he gets in here. Anyway, awesome comics, rare books, rarer signatures, slabbed books, and amazing cover sketches by Ken Hazer and others. Simple formula, you want the comics, you buy the comics. To sum up, Rex sells the comics, Robbie knows the comics, and John, who might possibly be a ghost. I mean, seriously, has anyone ever seen him show up or leave? Comic Collectibles with Rex and John, Mondays from 6 to 8 Eastern on The Experience. Comic Culture and Sales.
Get the inside scoop on everything happening at The Experience every week. Join our mailing list by scanning the QR code at the bottom of the screen and then watching your email inbox.
But I don't like to talk about it because Most of my mental health and emotional health is wrapped up in a dog and 2 cats that I will most likely outlive. So I'm not sure how I'm going to handle losing them, considering the fact that I don't get a lot of joy from life or humanity.
You have an option. You at least have an option. You can foster.
No. I mean, I know. But I also, I live with my girlfriend, so that she is obviously a big part of what we're doing. Real quick, before I move on to some other stuff, I just wanted to throw these out there. A couple other of these kind of oversized graphic novels. This is the soft cover version of Batman, Son of the Demon. This is obviously the famous story of when Batman gets raped and Talia al Ghul becomes pregnant with his son, who will later become known as Damian Wayne. This was an out-of-continuity story because DC was very upset by the idea that, Okay, real quick. DC was not upset about the rape because they didn't actually consider it rape because a woman did it to a guy. They were just like, well, Batman was asleep and he didn't consent to the sex, but hey, Talia al Ghul is super smoking hot, and, all the little boys out there would love to sleep with Talia. So even if they're not awake during the act, it must all be cool. Obviously, 30 years later, we have a different perspective on what consent means, and it is not mutually exclusive to any one gender. But with that said, back when, again, Gary, don't walk away. When Grant Morrison did his 7-year Batman run, what he first started out doing, the shot across the bow that he did, was he took this out-of-continuity story and he said, wait a minute, it's in continuity, because guess who is being dropped on Bruce's doorstep? That's right, his 10-year-old jerk of a son, Damian Wayne. It's time for his daddy to raise him. So this story obviously became very famous once again, almost 25 years after its original publication, because it is considered the first appearance or first cameo appearance of Damian Wayne as a baby. And also, Mr. Towers. All right. I got you, buddy. This is a good one to get. Sorry about the glare. The bane of my existence. This glare. No. It's no good. It's just ugly. Glare is glare. I mean, what are you gonna do? All right, good choice there, Mr. Towers. All right, so I don't need to talk about that one too much. Real quick, in celebration of everyone's Thanksgiving dinner, here's a cover for all of you out there. Again, this was a 80s horror anthology original graphic novel. It's pretty big. What is this going for? Yeah, Taboo. This is a very fine at $12. And it contains work from the following writers and artists. We're looking at work from Clive Barker, Alan Moore, Charles Burns, Charles Vest, Stephen Bissett, Eddie Campbell, Chester Brown, and many, many more. So again, a who's who in the 80s of some amazing horror artists and writers. No, it was not a pun, but if you want to take it as such, Jason, you have every right to. I consent to your punism. Okay, what was my plan here? Yeah. All right. Next up, we have a few underground comics. A few of them by Robert Crumb. All right, so back in the late 60s, from the print mint Tomorrow Comics Today, there was a series called Yellow Dog Comics. Obviously, Robert Crumb was a big contributor to this book. So you get some Robert Crumb in here. You also get some Gilbert Shelton, Jay Leach. I'm trying to remember some of the big... all the big underground cartoonists in the late 60s were contributing to Yellow Dog Comics. Volume 2, issue number 13 is one of the more famous ones, primarily because of a Robert Crumb cover. We are very fortunate enough to have an actual first print of this book. The condition is a very fine minus. It is $25. So again, this is a first print from 1969 of Yellow Dog Comics, Volume 2, number 13, with a really scandalous Robert Crumb cover. And speaking of Crumb, we were lucky enough to have 2 issues of his series, Hup. The first one, issue number 1, this is a second print. It is a high-grade copy at $25. And issue number 2, this is a first print, high grade at $20. Were you a fan of any of the underground comics growing up, or was that just not your speed?
Not really.
That wasn't your thing? Yeah. No, I get that. They were very an acquired taste.
What happened was they were reminding me too much of high school.
I got you. But just so we're clear, these were not the cool kids. they were not the cool kids, that's for sure. I mean, they might have done the drugs that the cool kids were doing, but instead of
My time, it was the late 60s, early 70s.
yeah, late 60s, early 70s, that was your teenage years?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the end of the high school for me.
Okay.
And at that point, it was a whole different setup entirely.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking about people who were talking about Vietnam War, who were saying that
In Vietnam?
people who were living in Vietnam
Mhm.
had cities just like this.
Yeah.
They had no concept of the limitations
Mm-hmm.
of the way they were living.
Late 60s, early 70s. It was a time, wasn't it? Oh my God, there's that. Excuse me a moment. I hope you all appreciate this dead air as I have to run back there and turn off an alarm that no one can figure out. Why is it going off? Why now suddenly is it going off?
I can keep going for you if you want.
Yeah, the problem is I'm afraid the microphone is not going to pick you up. But it's okay.
All right.
No one's interested in the undergrounds. So let's move on. Let's move along. Move along. Move along. All right. Next up, we have now. I'm going to sell this for $2, primarily because there is an Atlantic Bookshop sticker on it, which why do I don't understand. Why do these companies are so weird? But this is the Ray Bradbury Chronicles, volume number 1. With all right, so here we go. We have Dark They Were, A Golden Eyed, adapted by Kent Williams and John Van Fleet. Can Earthmen adapt to an alien planet, or must they become aliens themselves? Then we have, adapted by P. Craig Russell, one of the great artists of the comic book medium, especially when it comes to adapting sci-fi and fantasy. We have The Golden Apples of the Sun. An ancient myth becomes reality in the distant future as a group of space explorers finds out what it means to fly too close to the sun. And then we have The Dragon, adapted by someone I've never heard of before, Segrellis, it's one name. Out of the fog-bound British moors comes a roaring beast on a strange and timeless journey. Marionettes Incorporated, adapted by Ralph Reese, providing companionship for a nagging mate doesn't have to keep you housebound. And the Toy and Bee Convector, adapted by Ray Zone and Chuck Roblin. Changing the future can be a simple thing for a time traveler. All right, so once again, that is 5 Ray Bradbury stories adapted by a lot of great artists. That cover is also drawn by Dave Gibbons, someone we've obviously talked about before. If anyone's interested, you can have it for $2.
Craig Russell. Did he do any of the Werewolf by Night?
P. Craig Russell, Werewolf by Night? Like,
I
Like in the 70s?
Yeah.
I-
But names sound familiar as far as Marvel.
I mean, I think you might be right because he was definitely working for Marvel in the 70s, but he was like, it was like kind of like how Mike Mignola was working for Marvel in the 80s, where their style was obviously trying to fit with a certain house style that Marvel was doing at the time. But as artists, like P. Craig Russell and Mike Mignola would become so much more famous like years later when their styles really became kind of very unique. So, and again, if Zanin's still watching, he'll probably let us know. P. Craig Russell, what was he doing in the 70s for Marvel? Was he working on any of the Werewolf by Night stuff or anything like that? Obviously, I know, like, was it Mike Plug was doing a lot of that? Yeah, at that time and stuff. All right. Real quick, let me just those and Topps Ray Bradbury cons. Man, all right. Pete. All right. Yeah, you kind of. I mean, I have to be satisfied because without even working that hard, I just sold 30 comic books. I mean, if Mike's sitting there going, why do I let this guy do this every week? Well, I technically just sold 30 comic books from one photo. So I must be doing something right. But now I got to find out how do I eat up the next hour? Watches all the viewership, just drops out. I you know what? I think I'm gonna have to do some dollar comics at some point, and that's coming real soon. But before I do, let's burn through a couple more books. Here we go. Okay, so Zanin, was that all of the earliest P. Craig Russell Marvel work? Because I did forget. P. Craig Russell did a lot of the early Killraven stories with was it Don McGregor? Don McGregor, the one who was writing them, I believe. But yeah, he was doing a lot of the early Killraven stories, and obviously he would really make a name for himself drawing Doctor Strange annuals, which again, P. Craig Russell. You know what? Screw it. Speaking of P. Craig Russell, here we go. P. Craig Russell adaptations. All right. So for Eclipse Comics in the 80s, P. Craig Russell got into bed with this company and began to illustrate, adapt famous fantasy stories. Let me just see if I wrote any notes about them that I could add, but nope, it doesn't look like I did. All right, so these are all okay, except for the last one, which is a square-bound prestige format. We have here 5 issues of the P. Craig Russell adaptation series published by Eclipse Comics. They are all very fine, and they're all $3. First one is called Night Music, or actually the series was called Night Music. This is science fiction and fantasy. And then we have Night Music, just, I guess, more science fiction and fantasy. And now we're getting into some of the more like cultural. Man, I really thought I wrote some notes down so I could actually talk about what some of these stories are, but I guess I didn't do my job well enough. But there is Night Music number 3. Now, again, each of these issues are complete stories, complete adaptations, okay? It isn't until we get to issue 4 and 5, where even though in the indice they're called Night Music issue 4 and 5, they drop the Night Music and they renumber it. So here we have P. Craig Russell's, oh my God, I'm going to completely butcher this. It's a classic story of love and death, part 1 and 2. Peleus and Melisandre. Gary, where's my Zanin? Thanks, man. Don McGregor. All right. So that is part 1 of the story, and the classic story of love and death, part 2. Go. Now, again, these are all very fines, $3. And then we have the final night music, but they, I guess, decided to do it as a, like I said, a square-bound prestige format style story. It is Arion and Bluebeard. This is a high-grade copy at $6. And again, P. Craig Russell, what a gorgeous aesthetic and style. So we were talking about the artist, and lo and behold, I actually had some books here. So there we go. If anyone's interested in some P. Craig Russell adaptations, they are here. They are affordable. All right. Now we move on to... Speaking of prestige format series, I imagine most of you are aware of Gotham by Gaslight. Yes, the famous Mike Mignola illustrated Batman in Victorian era England, hunting down Jack the Ripper. This copy is a very fine plus at $10, but a lot of you might not be aware they actually did a sequel to the series called Batman Master of the Future. Now, this one was not illustrated by Mike Mignola. This is Eduardo Barreto. But there we go. That is the sequel to Gotham by Gaslight. That is also another high grade. Yeah, high grade copy at $8. And next to Gotham by Gaslight, probably the most famous Elseworld Batman story of all time, written by Doug Munch, illustrated by Kelly Jones and Malcolm Jones III, no relation. We have Batman and Dracula, Red Rain. Now, this is a high-grade copy at $15. Pella Us and Melisande. Thank you, Gary. I am an ugly American, and I can't pronounce words. Thank you very much. All right, so there are our Batman Elseworlds books.
That also was used for the animated movies.
Yep. Actually, there were 2 animated movies, right? Like you had Red Rain. Didn't they do a Batman as a vampire animated film? Yeah, and then obviously Gotham by Gaslight. That was definitely done as an animation.
In the last few years.
Right. Was that one of the last? Did Kevin Conroy do the voice for any of?
Kevin Conroy may have done the one for Gotham by Gaslight.
Okay.
I think that was Selena and he were in the carriage.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Right. Next up. For anyone who's interested in a little Bernie Wrightson Batman, Jim Starlin, Bernie Wrightson, again, no E, it's Berni. They did a 4-issue prestige format series called Batman the Cult. That is issue number 1. That is a high-grade copy at $8. Issue number 2, high-grade copy at $6. Issue number 3, high-grade copy, $6. And the final issue, this is a high-grade copy, also at $6. So that is a complete story of Batman the Cult, written by Jim Starlin and beautifully illustrated by the quintessential Bernie Wrightson.
What was the cult about?
Probably fake populism fueled by racism, victimhood. No, that's a different cult that's risen up the past few years. I don't know. They might have been like sewer people, and I don't know. It was the 80s. I imagine they're pretty monstrous looking because if you hire Bernie Wrightson to draw your comic book, there better be a lot of horror in it. And Jim Starlin had not a lot of good feelings about certain New York denizens. So
Back to the 40 style.
yes, yeah. I would say that this miniseries has throwbacks to pre-code horror. All right, so there we go. The Cult, Batman, The Cult. All right. And all right, one more prestige horror, not horror, one more prestige series. So I imagine many of you, if you've never seen it, which you better rectify that mistake, because it's one of the greatest TV shows to ever be produced. I'm talking about the 1960s British series, The Prisoner. Well, back in the mid to late 80s, DC hired Dean Motter, pretty good writer and artist, very famous for Mr. X and a few other existential esoteric series. He was hired to do a sequel, pretty much. And so DC published The Prisoner, book A through D. Now, all of these are high-grade copies at $5 each. It is a complete 4-issue miniseries. So again, this is not an adaptation of the original TV show. This is actually their version of a sequel. Now, there are some fans that believe that any sequel is sacrilegious. And then there are other Prisoner fans that I know who find this series to be quite good and definitely on par with some of the best Prisoner episodes. Again, if you've never seen The Prisoner, I cannot recommend it enough, and I really do think you should watch it. It is, bar none, one of the greatest television shows of all time. And it's pretty meta, that's for sure. And in fact, I imagine most of you have probably seen so many different parodies of it. You almost think you've seen it already. One of the most famous parodies being the episode of The Simpsons, where Homer is dropped into a village, yes, with his little white and black sports jacket with a number on it. And he doesn't know how he got there, and he doesn't know how he's going to get out. And little bubbles show up, and they pick you up, and you float off into space. And what the hell is going on?
They also did The Prisoner again with the actor from Person of Interest. It was about a 4-episode.
Did they was it?
It was many years later.
Okay, so it was sort of like a sequel to The Prisoner, or is it an adaptation?
Think of it as a parallel world.
Okay.
And the idea was that they were trying to make it less dangerous looking.
Okay.
But just as much in the way of a complete mystery.
Okay, all right.
They were trying to give some more background to it.
Okay, interesting. So Dave is talking about what was this, like 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Was it American or was it British?
American.
It was American. Okay, so they came up with a reconceptualization of the Prisoner series. Okay. All right, cool. All right. What? Wait. Jack Kirby did an adaptation of The Prisoner?
That was a one-shot.
One shot. What was this? Did Marvel publish it, or was it a DC? Zainin, give us some information here.
I think Kirby had the big thing was McGowan was holding his jacket like this,
Okay.
and that was Kirby.
Interesting.
There was a lot of people who were big fans of that show.
Oh, dude, that show was great. All right, next up, we have a little series called Seduction of the Innocent. For many of you, you're probably going to immediately recognize that title because the Frederick Wortham novel, book, propaganda, let's just call it what it is, propaganda, that came out, which pretty much caused the great pearl clutching of our comics, causing our children to become... Yeah, it was book burning. It was terrible. Frederick Wortham, I hope you're anyway, I'm not going to disparage the dead. But obviously it killed off EC Comics. It killed off horror books, adult sci-fi books. It created, obviously, the Comics Code Authority, which was so regressive and censoring, and it wasn't good for the industry. But whatever. It's not around anymore, so who cares? But who's doing this? Eclipse Comics at the time were publishing. They decided to publish a bunch of pre-code horror, crime, sci-fi stuff, primarily by artists like Alex Toth, Reed Crandall, Murphy Anderson. Who else do we have here? Nick Cardy, Mel Kiefer, John Rosenberg, George Rousseau, Mike Pepe, Art Safe, George Tuska, Ross Andrew. So, a who's who of pre-code era artists and things of that nature. So it was a 6-issue miniseries. Issue 1, you get some Alex Toth. Actually, I'm pretty sure there's an Alex Toth story in every issue. Right here is issue 1. These are all very fine at $4. There's issue 2. And issue 3. All right. And they're primarily culled from titles like Adventures into Darkness, Out of the Shadows, The Unseen, Tales of Horror, Mr. Mystery, Lost Worlds, Who is Next, and Fantastic Worlds. That's where all these... Oh, wait. Okay. So Snyder's coming in with Prisoner, the Uncertainty Machine by Peter Milligan back in 2018. Zanin is originally an unpublished proposal by Kirby. I can't recall the name of the publisher, but it was released as an artist edition that contained scans of... Oh! So it was never even really released in like a version that maybe any of us would ever seen. We would have to have gotten the the artist edition. All right, those artist editions were really nice. Okay, so Seduction of the Innocent 1, 2, and 3. If you're a big Alex Toth fans, he's got a lot of work in here. If not, maybe you like George Tuska. Maybe you like Ross Andrew. I don't know. What do I know? I don't know why you guys like the things you like. I don't know you. Here's issue 4. Issue 5. There's a gorgeous Alex Toth doing some gangstas. Yeah. And Look into the Eyes of Death. There we go. Good fun. Seduction of the Innocent. And the last Seduction of the Innocent that we have, now this one actually has some value to it, primarily because of the cover. I'm going to say there's going to be a good amount of you, I hope, that recognize the cover the moment you see it. But the artist is very famous. It is none other than Dave Stevens. And this was a 3-dimensional Seduction of the Innocent. It contains unpublished stories. So just so we're clear, the 3D edition, all of these were actually reprints of previously published pre-code stories. The 3-dimensional Seduction of the Innocent, it actually contains unpublished stories from Adventures into Darkness specifically. The final issue of Adventures into Darkness, which I think was around issue 15 or 16, that never saw the light of day because obviously the Seduction of the Innocent trials began and all that kind of stuff. And so there was all this work done by the artists and writers of the time that never got published because obviously all those companies went out of business, and the stories that were already paid for, written, and drawn did not fit within the newly formed Comics Code Authority. But again, not only are they unpublished, but primarily a lot of the value of this book, which is a very fine at $12, is because of that very famous cover. It was a very popular poster at the time in the 80s. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we, back in our back issue collection, we have this poster hanging up by Dave Stevens. Sexy, cute little witch girl in front of a bunch of pumpkins. All right. What do we got for time? 6:30. All right. Okay. So let's move on. All right, so Dave, what do you think? Just dollar books? Just we'll just kill the time. I don't think anyone cares. Yeah.
Think about 10, see how they do.
let me just pull out a chunk. I don't even know what's in here. There we go. All right, first up we have Tarzan, $2.44. Now again, these are all $1. Tarzan, $2.55. And another Tarzan, issue number 29. All right, there we go. So we got a couple Tarzan.
Now this is interesting. You got DC doing Tarzan and Marvel doing Tarzan.
I know. Gary, real quick to answer your question, Seduction of the Innocent, 1 through 6. They're all very fine, and they're all $4 each. And then you have the one-shot Seduction of the Innocent, the 3D edition with the Dave Stevens cover. That's the one that has a bit of value to it, primarily because of Dave Stevens' cover. That one is a very fine at $12. So again, Seduction of the Innocent 1 through 6, they're $4 each, and the 3D one-shot is $12. Alternate covers of what, Mr. Towers? I have tons and tons of variants. In fact, I should just do one show that's just variants, though I'm pretty sure they'll be even, I don't know. All right, Tarzan, boom, boom, boom. Next up, we have Weird Western Tales starring Scalp Hunter. Batlash is back, and Scalp Hunter risks his life in the plot to kill President Lincoln. This is Weird Western Tale number 52. And then we have Marvel will not be outdone. Marvel, Two Gun Kid. The Kid's Great Horse Thunder is stolen in the most unusual Western saga of all time. The Sidewinder and the Stallion, issue number 118. And then we have Rawhide Kid, issue number 110, blazing Western action as you like it. The Sightless Gun. There we go. All $1.
And that's a 20-cent book.
Oh, Gary is claiming the Scalp Hunter, which is right there. Boom. That's going to Gary. And I guess let us throw up Kid Cult Outlaw, issue number 196. There's action-packed adventure in store as the kid locks horns with the Robin Hood Raider, and a second Slam Bang Kid Cult saga, Showdown at the Silver Spur. Yeah. I love these dollar comics.
Now, the Two Gun Kid, this was all before he got involved with the Avengers.
Yes. All of these Two Gun comics are pre I'm now hanging out with the Avengers, because I guess at this point Western comics were starting to fall out of favor, and they were like, how do we spruce up Western books? I know, let's throw superheroes into the mix, because if there's two fan bases that mix perfectly like chocolate and peanut butter, it's superhero fans and Western fans. Yes, the original Ghost Rider was a Western character, and then obviously in the Bronze Age, when they decided to update him, they turned him into a Evel Knievel motorcycle riding horror book, which good for them. All right. Next up, let's go with Our Army at War, issue number 212, featuring Sergeant Rock. Look out behind you. All right, there you go. Our Army at War. There you go. They're only a buck. They're only a buck, folks. We got a few more Western books here. Two Gun Kid, issue number 97. Rawhide Kid. There's too many kids. Like, what are these kids doing running around shooting people? Hold your breath, Ranny. What? Ranny? Who the hell's Ranny? Because there's two-fisted, six-shooting excitement ahead as the kid meets the most dangerous owl hoot of his gun-slamming career when the scorpion strikes. You would sometimes...
Scorpion also?
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Dude, they're just... Man, someone should create an entire series of all the Scorpions and all the different published comics all joining up together and arguing who's the real Scorpion. Next up, let us pull out some... All right, here we go. There's a couple. All right, so let's get some more dollar books going here. Oh. Kids and guns. That was the Old West. In the same way that kids, guns, aircraft carriers, and fighter jets was the kids of the 80s with their beautiful, awesome G.I. Joes. One more question. Is it in 3D? Like any 3D? Or is it just a stupid name? Gary, it is in 3D. And I'm pretty sure it comes with 3D glasses. Or maybe it's the one that doesn't come with 3D glasses. But yeah, Gary, it's all in 3D. Yeah. Yeah, three-dimensional seduction of the innocent. I'm sorry, it does not come with 3D glasses. But it's definitely in 3D. All right. Oh, wait, did someone just claim our army at war? Yeah. Is that you, Snyder? No, Mr. Towers. Mortal Kombat Scorpion was not an original. In fact, he would be in my planned Scorpion meta series. All right, Mr. Snyder, there's your army at war. I got you, bud. That's Gary. That's Mr. Towers. That's Snyder. That's Mr. John McClane. Next up, we have Hall of Fame JC Comics Thunder Agents #2. Another Thunder Agents illustrated by Bob Layton. Issue #3. So there you go. 2 issues of Thunder Agents. Next up, we have from DC, Tor, The World of a Million Years Ago, Isle of Fire, with a beautiful Joe Kubert cover. That's Tor #3. And boom. All right, moving on. We have another issue of Tor. Actually, it looks like we have a few issues of Tor. There's issue #4. Issue #5. And issue #6. There you go. All right. What are we going to move into next? All right. These look very weird. Yeah, these are strange. Okay. All right. So let's move these. All right. Next up, we have Metal Men #27, where they fight Genghis Khan. I don't know. What is this? Can the robots overcome the fearful foe from the east? That hasn't aged well. He also looks like a He-Man villain. This weird, like, furry underwear. From Charlton Comics, the all-new Phantom, issue #71. And then Marvel Comics doing their best interpretation of EC, or at least what they can get away with Tomb of Darkness #21. Right. And then we also have, for anyone who's interested, from Innovation Comics in the 80s, we have the Quantum Leap series. Yeah, Quantum. You want that, Mr. Lamazov? Sure, man. Yeah. Can't imagine. There you go. Watch a whole like bidding war happens. Everyone's like, "No, I want the Quantum Leap." And I'm like, "Man, I didn't see that one coming."
In fact, I'll take this Metalman also. It's got the origin of the Metalman story.
All right, there you go, Mr. Lamazov, grabbing some Metalman. Can't go wrong with some dollar comics. Up. Gary is claiming the Tomb of Darkness. There you go, Gary. That's yours. All right. Next up, we have from Charlton Comics Group, Outlaws of the West, issue number 87. There we go. Let's move this out of the way. Another Charlton Comics Western book, Gunfighters, number 57. There we go. And next up, we have Gunfighters number 59. In fact, I got a bunch of Gunfighters here, so let me just barrel through them. Now the Gunfighters are being ambushed. Issue number 58. Gary, I would wait before you, because we got a lot of Gunfighters. So I'm assuming. How about this? Let's claim what's so. Gary, we have one Gunfighters here. We got one Gunfighters here. This one came up after you claimed. So let me just, and then there's the Outlaws of the West. So those are the three that were available when you claimed. But now we're laying out. So I'm going to assume that those are the only ones you were talking about. So now I'm going to lay out the rest of the Gunfighters. That's the ambush issue. And then we have the I Kill Sunhead, Let Me Go, Father. Sunhead is... All right, this is a highly inappropriate cover. But, you know, hey. What are you going to do? Actually, these covers are really cool. Who was the artist? Here's another issue of Gunfighters, issue number 61. All right. Let's grab. What else do we have here? Boom. All right. So those are some 3 more Gunfighters that we got there. I'll just leave them up for one moment because we are now about to move into another series of Charlton Comics, their War series. This one is Fightin' Army. Drop the G. So here we have Fightin' Army 133. Fightin' Army 139. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. And Fightin' Army 141. There we go. Up. All right. Gary is claiming the other 3 Gunfighters, so let me grab those for him. Great choice, Gary. Dollar Comics, can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. There we go. All right. What are we gonna do? Got so many Fighting Armies. Trying to get a little mixture here. So let's go next. All right. So next, hey yo. What are we hey yoing? Am I supposed to know something? Did I miss a?
Yeah, you need to check your clock.
Oh, it's 6:30.
Yep.
Okay, we got to do a break.
We'll do a short one, but yeah, we got to take a quick break.
Why was I thinking? It doesn't matter. All right, let's take a break.
You just finished the last episode of your favorite news show, and you just have to talk about it. But all your friends are ghosting you because of that incident last week at the buffet. Oh, you know the one. What you did to that chowder. Ugh. Keeps me up at night. So what do? Join writer Dan Wickline as he breaks down all your favorite pop culture media. Whether it's a review of the latest nerdy TV show or a dive back into the history of your favorite comic characters, Dan's ready to discuss all the hottest topics live. Join the conversation as Dan live streams Tuesday through Thursday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. The Dan Wickline Show on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Are you a comic creator? Are you a publisher? Do you make a comic book product? Do you own a retail store? Do you do something I haven't thought of? Who are you and what do you do? Let us know by advertising on The Experience and invite our viewers to patronize your product. Message the EXP on social media or email us the_EXP@yahoo.com for more details. Who would win, Batman or Superman? It's the age-old debate, except it's so much more complicated than that. Nerd Killer Warfare every week on The Experience is your chance to debate other nerds in the questions we've all been asking for years, except we take those debates and turn them up to 11. Go to bit.ly/EXP casting or scan the QR code to be part of the show.
What's up? It's the Word Man, Gary Lime. That's Dave Proch. You're checking out Fat Jack's Comicrypt on The Experience now.
Hey, what's up? We're back. My issue is I just am bored, and I think it translates, because yeah, I mean, I'm not a salesman.
Well, you're doing pretty good so far.
Yeah, no. Hey, what's up, Lyle? How you doing? Good day to you, sir. All right, next up, Dollar Comics. We got some Honeymooners. All right, first of all, this is weird. Okay, so it's done by Triad Publication. The way that they number all the books, it's number 2 out of 24. So they knew in issue number 1 they were only going to do a 24-issue series. That's so strange. All right, so this is the Honeymooners comic. This is issue number 2. Now here's where they get fun. All right, that's 9. That's 5. Next up is number 5. Movie Stars, Men from Mars, and UFO Madness. Honeymooners number 5. All right, all buck. And then we got number 6 with a Will Eisner interview. Ah, interesting. Okay, Honeymooners. Yeah, I guess threatening to beat your wife will inevitably garner the attention of the spirit. And then we have, this is a fun one, issue number 7, with a special guest appearance by Captain Lou Albano. There you go. And not to be outdid by Lou Albano, next up, we have the Honeymooners comic book number 9 with a Cyndi Lauper interview. There you go. Only for $1. $1.
They may have only had a 2-year contract.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. I live 2 blocks from the Ralph Cramden bus hub. Oh, very cool. That is actually pretty neat. All right, next up, we have... Does anyone know who Gunmaster and Bullet the Gun Boy is? What the hell? Gunmaster... CDC? Was that like an early Charlton? Or is it they all kind of like blend together. All right, face an army of outlaws in the Kingmaker. Gunmaster and Bullet the Gun Boy. That's right. Yeah, Gunmaster. And Bullet the Gun Boy.
Batman and Robin inspired so many people.
Yeah, and Frederick Wortham thought they were all banging each other. Speaking of a dude who gets laid, Adventures of the Man God, Hercules, from Charlton Comics. Because, every comic company had a Hercules. What issue was that? That's issue 6. And if you don't think that I'm telling the truth, well, don't worry, because this next Hercules book, called Hercules Unbound, is published by DC Comics. So here is issue number 2. And issue number 4 of Hercules Unbound by DC Comics. Up. It looks like Gary is taking the holy grail of tonight's books. The book that everybody wanted. Gunmaster and Bullet the Gun Boy.
I wonder if he's any relation to Judo Master.
They're all masters.
Yes.
Baiters and everything. Yeah, but all right, so got some more dollar books. Let's find something different. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's a couple. Oh, okay. These are different. All right, yeah. Let's do these. Okay. All right. Let's remove the books that nobody cares about.
Could you imagine when DC and Marvel were working together? All their different Hercules coming together in one story.
I bet you if all those Hercules all came together in one story, they're such narcissists, they'd probably all start making out. Like all the Hercules would be like touching each other, and yeah, they would be really into it. They'd be really into each other. I'm just being honest. Yeah. Whoa. Jason, your mother grew up with Cyndi Lauper? The childhood crush of little Brendan Patrick Wall? Cyndi Lauper. Girls just want to have fun. Girls just want to she-bop. Jason, do you know what she-bopping is? Does your mom know what she-bopping is?
And you can't say you grew up with someone if you were just a fan of them growing up.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, I grew up with Robert Downey Jr. No.
Yeah, that's why I'm questioning this, because how is it that I have hung out with Jason as long as I have at this point, and at no point did he bring up the fact his mother grew up with Cyndi Lauper in Queens? And if he tells me some terrible story that she's not as awesome as I think she is, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, Jason. Unless you're going to tell me that she's as amazing as I imagine she is. Man, the Goonies song, people. Come on, the Goonies song. Gary. She-bop to Do you know what she-bopping is?
Not anymore.
It is what's the way to say it without getting people to it is self-pleasure for women. Yeah. It's a song about the positive reality of women taking care of their own pleasure and not waiting for a man to learn his way around things, which for many generations of men probably never learned.
Wasn't that the purpose of the mechanical dildo?
I wonder if the microphone picked that up. Yes,
it did.
Well, we're near the end of the show.
Not included.
Hey, I didn't say it. right, real quick. A few more dollar comics. Here we go. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, issue number 117, where Jimmy is on the planet of the Capes, and they are auctioning off Jimmy Olsen. Is that what is happening here? Is he being auctioned off? And then we have Jimmy Olsen, issue number 106. Come on, Superman, show him to be afraid of walking. Oh, Jimmy is trying to get Superman to walk under a ladder to disprove superstition. Jimmy is such a cad. And then we have, from DC, Secrets of Haunted House, number 22. We defy you to unlock the Shattering. Has anyone ever unlocked the Shattering? You'll cringe at the voodoo vengeance and the sensational shocker. See how they die. Is there any story done prior to like the 2000s that has voodoo in it that isn't highly problematic and inappropriate? Lyle, I enjoy your comment, and I hope your mother had a very good time she-bopping in the 40s. Speaking of the 40s, here is a couple. This is 3D Zone presents Red Mask. So not only is it a Western, but it's also in 3D. And then we have Red Mask of the Rio Grande, also with 3D drawings. I guess these are all 3D. And Red Mask of the Rio Grande, number 3, with more 3D drawings. Oh, wait, we got a claim. So, Zainin, you're coming in with Jimmy Olsen 106, which I think is this one. Yep. And the other one was 117. 117? Nope. Yep. There we go. Ah, screw it. No one cares. All right. There we whatever. It's $1. All right, Zainin. I got you, buddy. There's my boy Zainin. All right. Betty Boop was definitely she-bopping. That's for sure. All right. So those are some of our little. There we go. Oh, thank you. All right. All right, next up, we have The Art of Pulp Fiction from A-List Comics. There we go, some old Pulp Fiction reprints. And they're all number ones. There's everybody's sexy stenographer, because that's how all women, whenever they sit down at a typewriter, they dress like that and they pose. I mean, because what's the point of knowing how to type? Oh, no. This is how men think women look as they type. Here you go. Some Pulp Fiction. All right. And then we have from Harold Bennett. Is anyone familiar with the artist? Harold Bennett. No? Nobody? All right.
What makes it really incredible is that first one, that was done on a winter's day.
Yeah, probably was. They really weren't concerned about her comfort. All right, what do we got here? All right. So we have the last gunfighters of the night. This is issue number 83 with some early Jim Aparo artwork. A Promise to Clarissa. I'm pretty sure one of the ladies on one of the covers behind here is probably named Clarissa, because she sure as heck doesn't explain it all. That's for sure. And then we have, what is this here? Public Enemies. Stories about America's most wanted gangsters. Machine Gun Kelly, Legs Diamond, and my boy, he died for your sins. That's right. John the Man Dillinger. And with a Rudolph Hogue cover, We have Public Enemies #2, starring Pretty Boy Floyd, Frankie Yale, and Raymond Hamilton. There you go. We got a couple claims here, so let me take a step back real fast. So, Gunfighters, right there. That's a Gary book. Damn it. All right, so that's Gary. Yeah, they're only $1. All right, so then Jason, you want the Pulp books. All right. Pulp Fiction. There you go, Jason. Pulp Fiction. All for you, buddy. All for you. What do we have for time? It's 5 minutes left. 5 minutes. Mighty Marvel Westerns featuring Rawhide Kid, Matt Slade, and the other kid, the Two Gun. We have issues 30, 34, and 42. Here we go. 30, 34, and 42. Little Mighty Marvel Westerns, as they call it. There we go. Everybody's she-bopping.
You can tell it was Marvel. They were all kidding around.
I only allow you to make a pun like that. There was somebody who worked with us who used to make puns like that all the time, and we literally threw him off the show. It was terrible. It was just... But you threw one out when no one was expecting it, so it counts.
At least Mr. Lamonsoff's puns are funny.
Oh yeah. That it also helps that they're also kind of funny. Yours, not the previous punner or whatever. What do we call a punster? Is it a punster? A pun master?
I have to replace the P with a C.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Right on. That's enough said.
How about a G?
Gunmaster, yeah, and Bullet Boy, the gun. No, Bullet, the Gun Boy, Bullet, the Gun Boy. Man, Gary, if we were ever going to reboot a series, to truly represent the times that we live in, it's time to bring back Gunmaster and his sexy, cute ward, Bullet, the Gun Boy. Yeah, Gary. At this point, it would be a travesty if Cyndi Lauper's She Bop was not on this week's playlist. She Bop. Cyndi Lauper. All right. Speaking of which, if anyone's watching and you want to give us a music suggestion, we have a couple minutes left. I imagine we've come to the end of the road. In many ways, we've come to the end of the road. I don't know what to say.
Considering tonight's group of characters, I think, how about the one from Greatest American Hero, Believe It or Not?
Okay, Believe It or Not. All right. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Do we even remember who sang that? Believe it.
I think it was a one-hit wonder.
Oh, it was definitely a one-hit wonder. Greatest American Hero? That was yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dude, talk about how starved we were as like superhero fans.
Joe Scarberry, by the way.
What is it?
Joey Scarberry.
Joey? You made that up, right?
Nope.
Joey Scarberry?
Scarbury. But there's a cover by Mike Post and Larry Carlton. That's pretty good.
Who, and who?
Mike Post. He was
Mike Post.
Oh, Mike Post wrote it. Oh, okay. All right. Hey, man, believe it or not, we're all walking on air. I mean, we're wearing that cool costume. In fact, If I own that costume, I think I would wear it every day. I think I would. I would just wake up every day and not even worry about what I was getting. Nope. I changed my mind. When I start a cult, we're all gonna wear the costume from Greatest American Hero. That's how you know we'll be in a cult. We just have to figure out what kind of hey, for everyone who wants to be in the Greatest American Hero cult, we got to figure out what the shoe wear is going to be. We going high tops? I'm going high tops. We just got to figure out the brand that we're all going to purchase together. All right, so Zainin, you're coming in with The Grind by Rabbit Junk. Awesome. And Gary, is it actually true? Gunmaster and Bullet, the gun boy, is in public domain. We could literally create a comic book. You know, literally. All right, Mr. Rome. Good song, guy. B-52s. Haven't had any B-52s yet. Nice. But we could literally create. We make a movie, make an animated series.
You can take 12 different characters that are in public domain and create a brand new version of the Justice League from a variety of companies.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised Gunmaster and Bullet and Bullet the Gun Boy are even in public domain. I'm surprised Disney doesn't own them. I mean, at this point, they deserve to get a Disney Plus series. By the way, real quick, I don't want to start a flame war or anything like that. But for anyone who hasn't been too into a lot of the Star Wars properties recently, like you weren't a big fan of like Kenobi or Book of Boba Fett or something like that, I got to be honest, I might be late to the party. Andor is the shit. That is such a good show. Such a good show. Yeah, I got your Mario Brothers song, Jason. Mustang Sally. All right. Are we going with the original Mustang Sally by I can't remember. Mustang Sally and Mario Brothers song. Good stuff. But yeah, for anyone, if you haven't tried it yet, Andor is brilliant. Like seriously brilliant. Can't recommend it enough. All right, so it looks like we have come to the end. Oh, actually, we are 1 past 7 o'clock. I'm surprised we haven't been cut off. We have a hard out at 6:58, and I missed it because I think I missed a lot of things tonight. So with that said, thank you everyone for hanging out with us. We will hopefully see you next week or some version, or who the hell knows. I hope for anyone in the Philadelphia area that we all get to enjoy the Eagles game tonight. That would be enjoyable to see them take it to that goober by the name of Aaron Rodgers. And I hope my father is spinning in his grave, wherever the hell that is, at the Eagles beating his beloved Green Bay Packers. What a jackass. He grew up in the Philadelphia area, Camden, Philadelphia, and he was a Green Bay Packers fan. That was like Trell growing up watching the Cowboys, even though he's from Missouri or whatever the hell. I mean, it's just like, just because the team's like, what a bunch of bandwagoners. Anyway, Dave, thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight. I don't know how much people heard you talking, even though the dildo joke definitely made it on air, which I do appreciate. Some people might not, but I genuinely don't care what they think. They don't care what I think. And literally, they don't want to know what I think about any of them. So with that said, have a great week. Yeah.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the